Coming up, John Cross from After Movie Diner is on. We're going to finish our look. We're going to do part 2 of our look at Harry Hamlin erotic thrillers. We'll be looking at Save Me with this one here, so stay tuned for that. And the next week, Ty from Quopitz is back on. We'll be doing Agent Recon, Chuck Norris movie, and then we'll be looking at... what was it? King of the Killers. It was a little bit unremarkable, so I'm having to remember the name, but it did have Alain Moussi and Frank Grillo, so stay tuned for that next week. And then again, John Cross, his video store, The Hunt, in the lower level, the store is called Be Kind Movie Vault, and it's in the lower level of The Hunt, a vintage store in downtown New Milford, Connecticut. But if you're in the New Milford area this weekend, he's going to have a table at the Vintage Mania at the John Pettibone Community Center there. So definitely check that out. Again, if you're in that area, pick up some DVDs and VHSs there at his place. And then one final announcement. If you remember, I made the announcement saying that I was on Blue Sky, that I was going to post on Twitter anymore. The Twitter's done. So the DTV Connoisseur Twitter is officially donezo. I have deactivated it. So again, if you need to get a hold of me, Facebook, that's probably your best bet. You can message me on Facebook. That's, again, a great way to get a hold of me. But also, what else? Instagram, right? I answer messages on Instagram all the time as well. And again, if you haven't followed us on Blue Sky, definitely follow us there. It's dtvconnoisseur.bsky.social. So check us out on there as well. But just because, we did most of the cold open back on Tuesday. So I think we can wrap the cold open here. Have John Cross from After Movie Diner and Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures playing our theme song, and then when we come back, John and I are going to finish up this look at Harry Hamlin erotic thrillers. Well, so should we pop on to Save Me? Should we?
Let's talk about Save Me, where, again, a complete fucking moron played by Harry Hamlin has it away with obviously mad Lysette Anthony, the British bombshell.
Yes. And what I love, too, is that we've got Steve Railsback in this as the jerk co-worker.
Right, who somehow is like tied up in this, but also not tied up in this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like they throw him in at the end, and it's like he's in these scenes with Hamlin where Hamlin is just plain old wooden Hamlin, right? And Railsback is like giving him shit all the time, and the best Hamlin can do is just be like, "Fuck you." Right. Fuck you, and it's like, and like the boss loves Hamlin so much that he can just tell Steve Railsback, "Fuck you."
Best line in this movie: "You can't fire me. I'm on probation." That's not how that works. You're on probation because you're shit at your job. They can 100% fire you if while you're being shit at your job, you are then shitter at your job.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Right. The whole point of probation is we'll give you one last chance to get better. Right. It's not like no one can touch me. I can walk between the raindrops. I can take 6-hour lunches where I'm fucking Lysette Anthony in my Porsche.
Yes. Right. Because it's not like so you're on 3-month probation, whatever the number is. It's not like nothing can happen to you for 3 months.
No, that's not how probation works.
No, it's like it means this is it. In this 3-month period,
if you break your probation, they'll send you back to prison. It's not like they're like, "Oh, wait, you're on probation? Oh, well, keep breaking the law then. Don't worry about it."
And then you can go to prison when the probation period's up. Then we can do it.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
No. And Yeah, and I mean, like we get this sense that he's this like offbeat guy because he wears a leather jacket, he has a bomber jacket. He leaves his tie at work and he puts it on when he gets there. He wears jeans, whereas Railsback's the real stuffed shirt guy. Apparently, Kato Kalin is one of the guys who. So these guys are all investment brokers. These would be,
Yeah.
and
Well,
so
Kato Kalin has two roles in this movie.
right.
He also shows up as a cop at the end.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because I think he was like a casting director or something in this as well. He had something
No,
to do
he
with the
was one
production.
of the finance bros in the office, I think.
But I think he also had something to do with the production. I think I
Oh,
thought
possibly, yeah.
I thought I had seen where he was because that's what he did before he met OJ, around the time he meets OJ. He did a lot of like different stuff with movies. Like he would be a casting director. I think there's this really bad action movie that's got like Richard Norton and James Liu, where he was a casting director. It's something like I don't know. I can't remember what it was called. But it wasn't great. But he was in the movie, but then he was also a casting director for it. So he had like these other parts that he would do.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing him here under additional crew. So maybe he was just the finance. Oh no, he was the extras wrangler. That's right. That's what he was. So,
The extras wrangler.
extras wrangler. That's what it
Well,
says. Yeah.
what a classy title that is to have on a movie as wonderful as Save Me. So, this is made by director Alan Roberts and written by Neil Ronco. Let's have a quick look at this. Alan Roberts, what's he known for? Young Lady Chatterley, so he likes
Oh yeah.
the sleazy sexy. He's produced a short called Censorship USA, which doesn't bode well. And it looks like he's made a lot of straight to video and straight to streaming horror flicks, such as 30 Days Fighting Words, Zombie Wars, Haunted House, Career Suicide. That's pretty much anything that he's involved in, I would assume.
Yes.
He's been an editor on a bunch of stuff, editor on 30 things, producer on 16 things, director on 11 things. Neil Ronco is the author of the novels The Girl Showed Up, Texas Hold'em, and Queen of Hearts.
Yeah.
Elevator Symphonies and the motion picture Save Me.
Right. Well, he's also he's the buddy who gives Hamlin the gun.
Yes.
The cat. Yeah. Now, one Robin's quick point thing on him. So he was the editor in a movie called Dance and It's On. It's a dance movie that was directed by why can't I think of the guy? I'll just open it up. But
David Winters.
David Winters, right? It's also I think it was co-written by David Pryor.
It was, yes.
Right, yeah. But it
has
Gary
Daniels, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I covered that one on the Exploding Helicopter podcast because it does, in fact, David Winters' character has like some kind of flashback to his son who was
Dancing It On has an exploding helicopter?
It does, because
Fascinating.
Winters' character had a son who died in Iraq, and somehow he has a nightmare about the son's helicopter exploding. So that's where the exploding helicopter
is the nightmare the movie Save Me? No,
it could have been. It could have been.
So one thing we can say about Save Me is Lysette Anthony a lot gamer than Nicolette Sheridan.
Which I wasn't sure about, right? Because the first nudity we get in the film, Hamlin is in this like clothing store, this like lingerie store, because he first follows her into this lingerie store.
Oh, again, Hamlin being a creepy SOB, like you want no part of it. Yeah.
He sees her on the street. She goes into a lingerie store. He follows her into this lingerie store, and she sees him checking her out while she's wearing like this one piece thing, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm checking it." She's like, "Okay, all right, fine."
Well, she does step out of the changing room and show everyone her vaginal cleft in this white negligee.
Right, exactly. So later they go back to that same place, and she takes him to the back room.
Oh, she knows the woman who owns it.
Right.
She knows the little dark-haired woman who owns it, who keeps going up to Hamlin being like, "Can I fucking help you, creepy dude, hanging out in a ladies' lingerie shop where Lysette Anthony can step out of the fucking curtains any minute and be like, what does everyone think? Can you see my camel toe in this?"
Right, exactly. But yeah, she takes him to the back room where you could see into the fitting rooms with a two-way mirror. Yeah. And that's the first nudity we get. We also get full frontal there. And so I was thinking,
but hang on, it's a female run.
Right.
female lingerie store,
Yeah.
but it has a back room with a two-way mirror
Yeah.
that is perving on women changing lingerie.
Right.
It's some kind of 90s sexual abyss, surely.
Right. Well, and I think the way two-way mirrors work is that there's like a film that's put over the glass to make it reflective. And I think when they pull that curtain back to be able to see it, I would think the person on the other side would suddenly see more light come through, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But
I
yeah.
always assume that two-way mirrors are just an invention of TV. I don't assume they actually exist in real life.
No, they do, but they have plastic on, because I've been in stores that have them. There's like a Rite Aid.
Matt's been arrested before and been in a
Yes.
lineup, but he
No,
doesn't want to tell anyone. That's what it is.
No. My friend, he was a manager, I think, at a Rite Aid that had them, and so you could see if somebody was in there on the other side.
Right, right.
You know, you could see a kind of reflection there, but yeah,
But you're right. They're not like lead walls. Like if you open a curtain and let light shine through,
Yeah.
yes, you would be aware that there was light. You'd be like, wait, what just happened? Yeah.
Right. Maybe I should be naked in this place, because yeah.
With my giant fake beach ball titties.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you know, Hamlin is they're turned on by seeing this, and so they start having sex. I don't think Lysette gets naked here, but she definitely does later. She's
no, it's one of those implausible sex scenes that somehow happens through fabric.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Where in your head you have to go, I guess Hamlin nudged it aside. Like, I guess either that or his penis is just so powerful, and his penis probably has a little leather jacket as well. No shirt, just a leather jacket. Also, can we talk about the poster for this movie? Like, Hamlin and Anthony posed for this shot.
Right. It looks like they're doing like a local theater production of like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or something. Like, this is the promotional thing for it, right?
Yes. But can you, I mean, okay, like the sad, the sad thing is that Lysette Anthony has subsequently, during the Me Too era, revealed that she was abused by Harvey Weinstein when she was in Hollywood in early days, and it makes me think then, when you see like photographs. By the way, Hamlin's mullet in the poster way more Hasselhoffed than it is in the actual movie. Like on the poster, it's full Hasselhoff.
Yes.
Like if it wasn't for the waxy brow and the unbelievable nose, you would believe it was Hasselhoff.
Right.
But I mean, the only problem is when you know how sleazy Hollywood was back then, a poster like this, which is, I mean, this isn't even exploitation like Roger Corman would do. This is like full-blown blue velvet sheets, black bra being teased off her breasts on a movie poster.
Right.
You know, this is full kind of abuse. It leaves a weird taste in your mouth when you look at it a little bit, because you're sort of like, yeah, it's all fun and games. It's, you know, an erotic thriller in the movie. It's another thing to have that be the poster for the movie.
Right. Because when you look at Deceptions, for example, you know,
it's as tasteful as anything could be, I suppose.
Right. Well, because
cool Deceptions.
Nicolette Sheraton is clothed, and you know, I mean, yes, it's just a negligee or something like that, but it's like, yeah, it's, you know,
it's suggestive. Whereas Save Me is like all but nipples. Look at Lysette Anthony's breasts, basically.
Yeah.
But that was the 90s, folks. We've got to just accept it and move on.
Right. Well, because that's the thing, right? Is that I think it's one of the problems with the 90s is that, you know, you had all of these movies that, you know, you all these independent movies, all this great stuff that's coming out. And then you find out that like behind all of these great independent movies was this monster in Weinstein with mirrorbacks, you know, where, you know, at the time, you know, we thought when we were watching these movies that we were like really challenging the status quo. Like, oh, I'm not going to go watch, you know, the newest Schwarzenegger movie. I'm going to go see, you know, Kevin Smith's movie or Tarantino or whatever. I'm going to see, you know, and then you find out that like, yeah, no, I mean, somebody made a comment on Twitter about, because they were saying like, who was the actress that you knew that like you wish got more parts or something. And somebody commented and said, if there's an actress who suddenly disappeared in the 90s, chances are you're going to find out that they refused to give Weinstein a blowjob, and it's
Right.
like, so and that's the thing, is that, like, between the assaults, the fact that he was killing people's careers, there was a lot of stuff that happened at that time that it was like, oh, like you find out, like, yeah, like,
But in 1994, when Lysette Anthony is doing this, she's not some indie darling.
right,
She's an American. She's a British actor who's trying to Sharon Stone her way
right,
into the middle.
right, exactly, yeah,
You
because
know
she
what I mean?
did
Not to the top,
Playboy.
but into the middle kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, because she did Playboy in the late 80s, and so, yeah, she was trying to be like, yeah, you know,
Right. And, look, that's absolutely fine. Like,
yeah,
I've no issue with softcore actors or erotic thriller actors or
right,
actors
right,
doing nudity. I do care that it's on their terms
right,
and not on someone else's terms. And I think that, there's this great documentary. I don't know if you mentioned it when you were talking about erotic thrillers before, but I think it's called We Will Kill for Love. And it looks at the erotic thriller boom from the late 80s, early 90s in an objective kind of way. And a lot of what they talk about in that documentary is to do with, to some extent, the softcore boom and the erotic thriller boom was more an exploration of female fantasy than it was an exploration of male fantasy. I think the trouble with these two movies is, I mean, first of all, there are males behind the scenes. I don't hear of any women writing them.
yeah,
But the other thing is, if any of this is female fantasy, it's at the grubby end of, I want to be taken against my will kind of female fantasy, which is, again, in safety with a trusted person. If that's your proclivity, go right ahead. No one's judging you. But in a movie, when all you're given is dumb misogynist Harry Hamlin, who wouldn't know how to navigate his way out of a wet paper bag
right,
if he was trapped in one in an airport, taking advantage of women repeatedly
yeah,
without so much as a buy or leave, essentially.
right,
And then in
right,
this one, again, it's one of the things that I get mad about when people are like, well, Catherine Tremell in Basic Instinct, played by Sharon Stone, is a feminist icon of the 90s. I'm like, what are you talking about?
right,
She's a psychopathic killer who uses her feminine wiles to basically like ruin a bunch of people's lives, and is essentially crazy, right? And it's this, Esther House didn't write her as a fucking bastion of femininity. He wrote, oh, those women, they're fucking nuts, right?
right.
Women just want to fuck you and kill you, like that. It's so these movies like Save Me and Deceptions, look, I'll do flips and twists to try and make them, feminist if it means that I don't have to feel so scuzzy watching them. But, ultimately, make no mistake, these are male fantasies through and through, I think.
Yeah, when we were talking about Animal Instincts, that one's a little bit interesting because it doesn't portray Shannon Warry's character as being some kind of degenerate, right? It's like her boyfriend, her husband wants to see her have sex with other guys, and she's in a situation where her husband won't have sex with her, so she's trying to get fulfillment some way. And so it's not like painting her as like some kind of degenerate who's out there, like, or like a psycho, right? Who's like committing murders and stuff like that. Whereas like these other movies, right? It's, they're using sex to manipulate guys. They're using the ideas of domestic violence to manipulate guys. I think it's another another issue there, where it's like this idea that, right, you don't know if you should believe a woman who is saying that she's in an abusive situation, because she could be, in the movies like this, she could be manipulating, someone.
Right. I
Which
mean,
is what
she
we,
flat out is. She
right,
in this movie, it turns out, to spoil it, the end, Lysette Anthony is crazy and has been manipulating every single man in her
yeah,
path.
yeah,
And as much as Michael Ironside, who is sort of the Robert Davi of this movie in the sense that he holds it all together, and it's the only thing worth watching in the film because everyone else is like stale cheese. Uh, the yeah, the he constantly warns Hamlin and tells the truth. Hamlin completely doesn't believe him because Hamlin is thinking with his peen. And mainly because Hamlin does not have much of a brain to work with.
No, because I mean that's the thing, right? With Hamlin's character is that his snappiest comebacks on Railsback are "fuck you." That's like
Right.
the best that he's got for him. Like you said, he's put on probation and he's not working at all. He's
Oh,
essentially
he
just
never works. Every
right.
scene at his office starts with him at his desk looking frustrated, and then his friend comes in and says, "Do you want to like leave early?" And he goes, "Yeah, thanks." And he goes, "Great, I'll cover for you." Every scene.
Yeah. Yeah, or he gets a call from Lysette Anthony, and she's like, "We're gonna go to I want to go to Santa Monica Pier. Fine, let's go have sex in the car at Santa Monica Pier."
Right.
And then Railsback's there, and he's like giving him a hard time. And yes, Railsback is a jerk, but it's also like who's the bigger jerk, right? Like Railsback is being a jerk. He's a jerk, toxic manager. But then Hamlin is an employee who's just like a toxic employee, right? It's like, he's under a performance review, as you said, he's under probation, and he's
Right.
still skipping out on things. And then we find out that there's a whole SEC thing with Michael Ironside, with investments or whatever.
Yeah, which again, I'm like, you're confusing me. You're confusing me. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing that allows Hamlin to keep his job when Railsback fight, because their boss is Joseph Campanella, who, I always like seeing a good Joseph Campanella from time to time in a movie like this, and he likes Hamlin. He has a thing for Hamlin, but he's like, well, Railsback's my best salesperson, so I gotta promote him and listen to what he says,
Right.
But by the same token, when he leaves, that's when Railsback tries to fire him, but. Yeah, I mean, it's like Hamlin's not doing himself any favors, right? Like if I'm Railsback, I'm documenting everything Hamlin's doing, and I've got this huge dossier that I can give to Campanella and say,
Right.
yeah, we need to get rid of him. But yeah, but it's like Hamlin, he starts to get like he gets very controlling with Lysette Anthony. He starts like telling her like, don't leave the house, you can't do this, you can't, because they think, he thinks Ironside's after him. He thinks Ironside's trying to kill him.
Well, that's the funny thing is,
Right.
at the end of Deceptions, the only excuse that Nicolette Sheridan can give is he made me do it, which
Right.
other words just makes it sound like any old actor in a dress from some downtown LA theater can make me almost kill you by cutting the brakes in your car, right? There's
right.
which is baffling. At least at the end of Save Me, it turns out the reason why Lysette Anthony's character is crazy is because she's been unfortunately molested by her dad.
Right.
And then her villain spiel, her whatever at the end, where she kind of explains why this was all happening, is like you say, she talks about like, all you want to do is control me and tell me I can't leave the house, and all men have been trying to do my whole life is this, this, and this, and this, and this. And to some extent, it's true. Michael Ironside, even as a therapist, has been trying to control her. Even as, by the way, her disgraced therapist, who has had to give up his clinic, give up his therapy practice, and just practice out of his home, seemingly just on Lysette Anthony. So you're probably like, yeah, of course you wanted her around Ironside. No one else would fucking believe you, and she's hot as shit. So
right, exactly.
a therapist, by the way, who like threatens violence openly, which I don't know what therapy training he did, whether he's Jungian or what's the other one, Jungian and Freudian. But either way, he apparently threatening violence of anyone who even comes close to his patients.
Right.
So there is at least a feminist message within this movie that is talking about the patriarchy control over women. So you could at least sort of, I guess, crowbar that in. But what the movie wants to really say is all men want to find a woman who is perfectly happy with them ogling them in lingerie shops, and will show them a secret room at the back of lingerie shops where they can have outrageous sex in front of a two-way mirror where a woman is stripping down and going full frontal. That's what the movie wants to tell you. It's got nothing to do with feminism and everything to do with a man's flagrant wet dream.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, I love when, Ronco, the writer, he invites Hamlin to their cabin out wherever it is in Big Bear or something in California. So he and Lysette Anthony, Hamlin and Lysette Anthony go out there and they essentially use it as their own bed and breakfast for an entire weekend.
They show up at his cabin and they're just like, this is a fuck palace, right? I'm going to put jizz over every single corner of your North Californian cabin paradise. We're going to fuck in the trees. We're going to fuck in the hot tub.
Right.
And then the moment you've gone to bed, you've not even started doing your teeth yet. Yeah. We're gonna fuck in front of your roaring fireplace. I mean, they have no regard for this friendship whatsoever.
Yeah. Now this hit home a little bit for me because I had a friend who did something similar. So he and I we had our birthdays we went to college together, and he visited me when I was living in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we were hanging out, and it was we were talking about the fact that our birthdays were similar, close. And he was like, "Oh, I'll come and visit, for our birthdays." I'm like, "Okay, that sounds great." And he before he can't come, like maybe like the day before, he's like, "Hey, can I bring my girlfriend?" He was dating a woman up there in Bangor, wherever he lived. And I was like, "Sure, fine, bring her." Well, like that was it. Like it was they were essentially using like we went to Boston to a listening party for a new 9 Inch Nails album, and my buddy decided to come, another friend. I was glad that he came because I would have been by myself on this thing, And so I was like, I was watching this and I was like, my buddy Harry Hamlin beat. That's essentially what happened.
You were Hamlin.
Yeah, 20 years ago, I was Hamlin.
They used your house as a filthy fuck palace.
And it was just like it was because I at the apartment, it was a 2-bedroom apartment, and my roommate had moved out, and I had it for 2 more months before I was moving out.
Oh, it was an apartment, dude.
It was an apartment, so I didn't even have a house. That was just an apartment.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah. And it was like, I mean, I got up the morning the next day, and the two of them were like in the shower together. I'm like, okay, you know.
Wow. I won't tolerate that. I have a no sex policy in my house. No, I'm kidding.
No, but you
just
do it.
Don't invite me round fucking my hot tub.
Right.
Midday, by the way, when he's at home. I thought that maybe him and his wife had gone out shopping or something, and they took the opportunity. No, she's just naked in his hot tub.
Right. Yeah, they're home. And then he's like telling her to put on some clothes. And she's like, "What's the big deal? It's just this guy here." And I kind of understand why she was thinking, "What's the big deal?" Because it seemed like this Matthew guy was like, "Yeah, use my place as your fuck palace." Like, it's like,
please don't worry about it. Everything in this house is wipeable. So don't worry about it. You go right ahead. By the way, Matt, if I was Hamlin and Lysette Anthony's friend, I would be draining my hot tub. I would probably just sell the whole house, to be honest.
Right.
I would either that or have fleets of cleaners in for months on end trying to get the Hamlin stank out of my house.
I mean, it was amazing. Like, they're playing checkers. Like, the four of them are there. Hamlin's playing checkers. He's getting beaten by Lysette Anthony. He's getting annoyed that he's getting beaten by her. And then Ronco and his wife go to bed. And it's like, they're not even, like, the door's not even shut before they're like, "All right, we're going to have sex here in front of this fireplace."
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then, like, afterwards, at the end, Robbins is like, "Here's Chekhov's gun for you here." Or not Robbins, Ronco. He's like, "Come step into my office for a bit." And we're like, "Okay, what is he going to tell him here?" And it's like, "Oh, here," instead of being like, "I think your girlfriend might be, there might be something up here with you and your girlfriend. I don't know what it is." He's like, "Yeah, here's a gun. I'm giving you a gun. It's unregistered." Which I don't even know what that means. Like, what is it? But which later he shoots Ironside in the arm with that gun, and that's like one of the best scenes too, because Ironside's like, "Just go get the first aid kit." He's like he's more annoyed that he's shot, and it's like, "No, you were shot in the arm." Like, that's
I've never seen anyone be so nonchalant about being fucking shot. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ironside was just like, whatever.
Yeah, just go get the first aid kit. Then when Hamlin's getting the first aid kit, Railsback comes in. Well, we think Railsback comes in and bumps him off, but actually it's not Railsback.
No, it's Lysette Anthony.
It's Lysette, yeah.
Save Me is a weird one because there's not really a plot to speak of. There is woman in a lingerie store passes note to Hamlin
Right.
that says "Save me" with a number on it.
Yeah.
Hamlin immediately is like, I will do this, even though you would have to be. She basically says, I am being held against my will by my shrink because he's treating my mother,
Right.
who we find out later is dead.
Yeah.
But, and I'm being held against my will, and he's incredibly violent. Yeah. Will you help me? Any other guy would be like, darling, this is Los Angeles. I can find any number of people
right, exactly.
to have dangerous sex with out the back of a lingerie department. I don't need to do it with someone whose man in her life might legitimately fucking kill me.
Well, because he goes on a date.
Hamlin's adult. I mean, Hamlin's an idiot. So yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, he goes on a date with Ronco hooks him up with a date early in the movie after he's done the whole voyeur thing with Lysette Anthony in the lingerie shop. He goes on this date, and apparently he's annoyed by this woman. But this woman is not that much like on an attractive scale, or she's plenty good looking. She's very attractive. It's just I don't know if she was like celebrating. I think they were like at like a monster truck rally or something. I can't remember what they were at, or a race, some kind of race thing or something like that. And,
he goes on a date he goes on a double date to a monster truck demonstration.
Right. Yeah. And apparently he's just so annoyed with this woman that he's like, well, now I have to. There's no other fish in the sea because
the only other they're women are either dumb,
right,
or want to fuck me out the back of lingerie shops in front of a two-way mirror, yes, being frequented by a porn star.
Yes, that's it. So he's got to choose B at this point, right? Because he can't, he's not gonna, the thing we forgot to mention too is that Olivia Hussey is his wife who is leaving him. She's and so he's newly divorced.
She's in it for like 30 seconds.
Right.
She's is his son, which we conveniently forget about for the rest of the movie.
Exactly. It's listed as it's like special guest appearance by Olivia Hussey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I wouldn't have bothered if I was her. Yeah, it's a weird one because, like I said, it sets up the beginning. They have sex, they have sex, they have sex, they have sex. Occasionally, someone tries to kill Harry Hamlin. He thinks it's the shrink. It's clearly not the shrink. It ends up being Lysette Anthony, and then it ends. There's really nothing else to the movie. It's just sex scenes and Harry Hamlin almost being shot.
Yeah, and a little Steve Railsback as a jerk, and then Bill Nunn as the detective who's like, I can't do anything without any proof. Right. I always remember Bill Nunn from Death by Temptation. Well, everybody knows him as Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing, but I also remember him from Death by Temptation. He's the one who tells, I think, Samuel L. Jackson. He tells one of the characters, he goes, when she drinks that holy water, she's going to be slobbering and farting and gagging. And so I know my friends and I, with the trailer, we used to play that part over and over. I think that was another Trova film. So, good old Bill Nunn. But he plays the detective who keeps telling Harry Hamlin, I don't know that it's actually Ironside that's trying to kill you. I can't, you don't really have any proof for me that it's Ironside. And he's like, well, what do you mean I don't have any proof? Well, turns out, you didn't have any proof that it was Ironside.
Yeah, Bill Nunn, who had an incredible career at the beginning of his career. And then, boy did it fall. In fact, to be fair, dude, it fell off with this movie. Prior to this, he had done Loaded Weapon 1, Sister Act, Regarding Henry, New Jack City, Demon Cop, Mo Better Blues, Cadillac Man, Death by Temptation, Glory, and Do the Right Thing. After this movie, apart from The Last Seduction and the Candyman sequel, he goes on to do, all right, he's in Money Train and Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead. But ultimately, it starts to pretty much drop off.
Yeah, it's the Spider-Man movies. He has a small part in the Spider-Man movies as Joseph Robbie Robertson.
But you also think to yourself, you've done that run of movies, Glory, Death by Temptation, Cadillac Man, Mo Better Blues. The fuck are you doing a bit part in Save Me? Who did he owe Who, like, what bet was he paying off?
Yeah. No, you're right. Because I mean, like Last Seduction is, it's a good movie, but it's also an indie flick. It couldn't have been paying that well. And then, like you said, yeah, Candyman Fair. That was a sequel that was barely in the theater. Yeah, you're right. He's getting like smaller parts, I think, as he goes. Movies like Bulletproof, things like that. But yeah, it's yeah. Saved me. He just that was it's like
This was
his
the crossroads in
yeah
the nadir of some people's career.
the agent must have. I mean, yeah, I guess the agent it's like, well, Spike Lee hasn't done anything in a while, so what do you better take the Save Me thing because we don't know when Spike Lee's next movie's coming out. It's like, but I can do other stuff. Sure, just take the Save Me.
Yeah, just do Save Me. And he's
Yeah.
like, why? Dear God, why do I have to
Yeah.
keep explaining to Harry Hamlin why no crime has happened?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's
Because what crime has happened until
right.
the end of the movie? Am
Well,
I
he gets
forgetting
shot at.
something?
He gets shot at, right?
Right.
But we don't know who. But there's no proof that it's Michael Ironside that's shooting at him, other than the fact that Ironside came to his work. Um,
Right.
and what? So the thing is, that Ironside, I will say, Ironside is purposefully cryptic. Like he says to him, instead of saying like, "Hey, you know, Lysette Anthony is going to hurt you," he says, "You're going to get hurt," which. Of course, Harry Hamlin's going to take that as a threat. If you why he wouldn't just say, no, she's going to hurt you. It's like, just, I guess Ronco decided to be, thought that's how I'm going to write this scene. But Ronco should have looked at it and said, Ironside would never say you're going to get hurt. He would say she's going to hurt you. And of course, my whole movie's going to fall apart from here. But
Right, exactly. Well, it's because all these movies need to have a twist instead of, like
right.
you say, going the Columbo route and being like, just tell us who it is and we'll keep watching because we're going to be interested in someone figuring out how.
Yeah.
Instead of that, it's going to be like, oh, who is it? Who is it? Red herring, red herring, red herring, red herring.
Right. Yeah.
And then in the case of Deceptions, they went, here's an actor you've never heard of in a wig. And you're like, what? And in the case of Save Me, they went, nah, it was Lysette all along. It was always her.
Yeah.
Women are crazy. Am I right? Am I right, fellas?
Yes, right.
So, but again, I want to make something clear because yes, these movies are not good movies, right? And they deserve all the shit that we're giving them, 1,000%. However, I am I want these movies to forever exist.
Yeah.
I do not want there ever to be a day where this period in history, this brief period in history where America wrestled with its relationship with boobs. Because make no mistake, that was also what this was about. America has a notoriously problematic existence with boobs, down to the point where I was saying earlier that I do a lot of stuff with our town, and we happen to know the woman that runs the teen and youth program in the town. And they often try and put on events or things for teens in New Milford. And one of the things they did around earlier in the month was do a Friday the 13th screening. And my friend Maria came to me and said, John, can you get a hold of us Friday the 13th, part 6? And I said, why part 6? Part 2, for example, was filmed just up the road. So I'm like,
Yeah.
In New Preston and in Washington Depot and in New Milford. Friday the 13th part 2 was actually filmed near where I live. So I'm like, why not part 2? And Maria said, we checked IMDb for each of the Friday the 13th, and part 6 is the only one without nudity. And I said, but it's a Friday the 13th movie where he's going to be like cutting people's heads off and stabbing people and stuff. She's like, that's fine, but these teenagers can't see a nipple. So in Friday the 13th part 6, for example, there's the big scene in the Winnebago where, yes, a woman with a t-shirt on is like physically riding and grinding into a guy and saying repeatedly, basically like, don't come yet, I want to come first, right? That's the whole scene. And the Winnebago's rocking, and there's heavy metal music on, and they're bouncing up and down, right? In sexual ardor. That's fine. But if she had her top off, they wouldn't have been able to have screened it at the park with the kids. Yeah. So this is America's, and Instagram's no nipple policy and other things like that. So America has a tricky time with the breast, and you really have two options that aren't porn, like just flat out porn. You have the 60s and 70s B movie Roger Corman films, which give people like Pam Grier their start, in which there is a lot of breast nudity. And then you have the slasher sex comedy into the erotic thriller. So you have slasher and sex comedy in the 80s into the erotic thriller of the 90s. And then it's like in the year 2000, cha-chung, the gates come down and there will be no more boobs.
Right.
And then you have just weak sauce crap like 50 Shades of Grey, or that fucking movie on Netflix. What was the one that got all the controversy around it? I forget what it was called, but it was some Dutch movie or something. And there's some scene on a boat where they have like one sex scene in a 2-hour, 15-minute long Dutch movie. And everyone was like, I've heard that there's horny shit in this movie. We better all go on to Netflix and watch it. Can you believe Netflix put horny shit on the thing? Meanwhile, Tubi just has wall-to-wall erotic thrillers with all the tits you could want. So it's this weird, and then you've got the HBO TV series, which are even more baffling, where they go, well, it's basically a TV show about dragons, or it's basically a TV show about vampires, or, it's basically like a genre TV show, but we are going to stop the show every 15 minutes because boobs will come on the screen. Are they part of the plot? No. Does there need to be boobs in it? No. Does it further, no, but because it's HBO and we're going to put boobs in everything. I'm surprised that in the Bill Maher show, they don't stop the Bill Maher show real time or whatever halfway through for him to go, and now 10 minutes of boobs.
Right.
Because it's on HBO. I'm surprised Larry David didn't have boobs crowbarred into Curb Your Enthusiasm, because HBO seems to just be like, oh, were you watching this? Tough shit, here's 5 minutes of boobs. And you go, look, I appreciate boobs, but maybe it's just me. Maybe everyone's just like, I watch Game of Thrones for the deep plot. Yes, of course you do. It's got nothing to do with the fact that it's basically Dungeons and Dragons with tits. You want to claim that it's literary and fucking intellectual. It's fucking Dungeons and Dragons with tits. Shut up. It's an adolescent boy's fantasy puffed through the big white beard of a fat roly-poly fucking George R.R. Martin, who sat at home being like, dragons and tits, dragons and tits, dragons and tits. Occasionally throwing a midget in there just for good luck.
Yes. Well, because you're right about that. Like, I remember when we went to England on a school trip in '97, so I was 18. I remember somebody watching a TV program or whatever on BBC and being like, oh my God, like, when the woman took her shirt off, their boobs were there. Like, it was like this whole thing of like, wow, there's boobs.
It would have been Channel
TV.
4, not BBC. Channel 4 was very liberal with the boobs.
Oh, okay. Right. So, yeah. So, yeah, right. In America, it's like, so you can have a movie like The Dark Knight where Maggie Gyllenhaal is like tied to a chair, has a bomb next to her, and is watching her life count down until she does, in fact, actually blow up. None of the Hitchcock, like, oh, if you put a bomb in a room and you blow up the character, the fans aren't going to stick with you. Apparently, people were okay with it, but that's PG-13, right? So if you're 13, 14, whatever,
you can have an action movie in which a woman is like beaten nearly senseless,
right?
With like bloody gums and a gashed face and whatever. But show a nipple, and
if her top comes off, right? If Maggie Gyllenhaal's top if Maggie Gyllenhaal had not died, right? Had she survived that, or like instead of killing her, right? If you'd just taken her shirt off, that would have been bad. You can kill her, and kill her in a way that's like, I mean, that seems to be a pretty rough way to go, to sit there and watch a clock tick down and then you blow up. Um,
But
but
there was a glorious sort of 40-year period
yeah,
once Roger Corman started making his kind of candy stripe nurse movies
yeah,
in the 60s, all the way through to the erotic thrillers of the 90s, where America kind of went, all right, let's deal with this
yeah.
tit thing then.
Well, because
Let's
R-rated
figure out
movies,
tits.
we were okay with R-rated movies more back then. That's
Right.
the problem, right? Is that you can't make R-rated movies anymore. They have
Well,
to
you
all be
can,
big
but like,
tentpole.
what is an R-rated movie these
Yeah,
days? I mean, look, besides stuff like Terrifier and Deadpool Wolverine or whatever, but like in general, your average R-rated movie is like the PGs we grew up with
right.
in general.
Yeah, 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 and I think too, like again, boobs shouldn't be R-rated, right? Like they shouldn't be. Killing should be worse than boobs. That's the reality, but it's the reality in America that no, boobs are worse than killing. That's
I
just
mean, Airplane One, which I think was a PG, certainly was in England, has a scene where in the middle of everyone panicking in the plane,
yeah,
a woman with enormous breasts
right,
jumps onto the screen and bounces up and down.
right,
Who's Harry Crumb at the
right,
beginning when they are doing it's meant to be in a spa
yeah,
and she's like combing her hair and getting ready for a mud treatment. She's in the mirror and you see a nipple. It's a comedy. So who's Harry Crumb? And she's
yeah,
getting ready for a spa treatment, so she doesn't have a top on. Like it wasn't gratuitous. It was just
just
boobs
boobs.
nipples were okay in PG movies.
Yeah, yeah, it's now it's a problem, and yeah, I mean, think it is. The erotic thriller was a place where, as a kid,
Boobs
you
could
could
go.
you could watch this and be like, oh, there's boobs there, and it wasn't X-rated, it wasn't, but I think that was the things. I think for people our age, especially here in America, watching these things, you kind of got a sense of like they ain't so bad. Like what this is what you were so afraid of us seeing.
Right.
Like, like what's going on here? Like, what are we, yeah, yeah, it was, I don't say we desensitized. I don't think anybody's desensitized to boobs, but you're just
No,
like,
boobs are always a welcome addition. I just think that my problem with the HBO boob is that it's like Skinemax and to some extent Showtime,
yeah,
they are very in your face about boobs.
yes, yeah,
They're like the thing I hate about HBO is they're like, oh, it's so elegant with the costumes and the
right,
CGI and it's based on a novel and blah 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 blah
right,
blah. Listen, it's it's incest porn, and if you look up online on like fucking any porn website, step brothers and stepsisters like doing it is like one of the main things, and all you did was put a CGI dragon in the background, but
right,
stop trying to dress it up as something that it's not. You know what I mean? And I think that this is my problem is I like something that owns what it is, and
yes,
whether you like it or not, deceptions, and Save Me own what they are. They don't
right,
try and pretend to be anything other than what they are. And so, as cheesy as they are, as bad as they are, as yes, weirdly masculine and slightly rapey as they are, it's if you can detach that part of you that cares about that and enjoy it as sort of a bygone era of eroticism and the exploration of boobs by America, I think they're quite, in their own way, they're enjoyable because it's full of people who don't have a care in the world. The people in these movies are not worried about how am I paying my rent or
right,
how am I paying for my chop shop Porsche or how am I going to put gas in my chop shop Porsche or whatever. Like these are cops that don't even adhere to simple things like maybe don't drink a bunch of bourbon while interrogating a witness.
right,
These are guys who fly by the seat of their pants and disregard shirts as items of clothing.
right.
That's what this is. And so when you sort of look at it that way, and then add the boobs, it's entertaining. It's adolescent, but it's America's sort of adolescent. It's it's what, under 500 years old, right? So it's
Right.
like it's still just finding its way. It's a kid at a party groping in the darkness for something that might be a nipple.
Exactly. And I think too, in this world of elevated, right, where that word is used a lot. And I'm not going to knock things for being elevated. I think it's, people want to watch elevated things. That's great. But there are times where I need to not be elevated. I need to watch, like you said, something that knows what it is. And I think that's, these inhabiting this space, and Tubi, the fact that Tubi has these available now, I think is fantastic. But, a movie that knows what it is, I think sometimes we miss that a bit now. We don't always get that. And in the 90s, it seems like, like late 80s into the 90s with cable and all of that, there were a lot of movies that knew what they were. PM entertainment movies, they know what they are.
Right.
And I think so, like those horror movies you were talking about, those 80s and
They were
90s.
like, if we're filming in an airport with
Yeah,
a bunch of random upright panels of glass for no reason,
yeah.
we will throw a stuntman through every single
Exactly.
random panel of glass. And
Exactly.
if we're on the top level of a shopping mall, where for no apparent reason there are lots of random panels of glass,
Right.
we will throw a stuntman through them. And you know what, Matt? We'll be entertained. We will be entertained way more than we would with other films.
I don't know how many bad PM Entertainment movies, like I don't know how many PM Entertainment movies I've seen where I got to at the end of the 90 minutes and said, man, I want my 90 minutes back.
Right.
Like,
Well,
I
because
like
they
some
are
better.
only like 85 to 90 minutes, as
Yeah,
opposed to most movies these days that are 3 hours.
yeah,
And an hour into it, it already feels like you've been watching it 3 hours.
yeah. And I think, there's a place for these kinds of movies, and they're the perfect. They're great, for killing time on a Saturday night or Sunday night or something like that. They're like you said, there are issues with them that are problematic. But I think if you go in knowing they're problematic, it's kind of similar to like if you go to McDonald's and you get a hamburger, it's probably factory farmed. You know that cow probably didn't have the best life,
Right.
for the short time that it was on the planet. And if you know that going in, you're going to eat the hamburger. It at least know, you know what you're getting. I mean, this is kind of there's a bit of a fast food element to some of these movies, but it's a fun piece of it. I love it.
Yeah. And like we've referenced, there are the actors who sort of made it their own.
Right?
Shannon Tweed is probably the most well known.
Yeah.
But under Shannon Tweed are the Monique Parents and Shannon Worries and various others of the decade. Tangentially, you have a fairly big star like Rebecca De Mornay doing quite a few of these films. It's really only, I mean, Lysette Anthony would do nudity in other films, but it's really only the sort of a one-off, I think, in the full-blown erotic thriller genre.
Yeah. What was the other
Uh,
one she did? Was that one a erotic thriller? It was there's another movie that she did. Um, I thought it was
There's the
The
movie
Advocate.
A Fair Play. So The Advocate is the one movie she's in with Donald Pleasance,
Right.
and Colin Firth, which I also own. I own a surprising amount of Lysette Anthony movies. She's also in Without a Clue, one of my favorite Michael Caine comedies,
Yeah.
which, if you haven't seen it, everyone needs to see it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, she does some. She's not a main part in any of these movies. She's more of a main part in the Save Me's and the Affair Play type films of the world, which I think is the other erotic thriller she did. Is a Fair Play. I would
Mm.
assume that's an erotic thriller. I'm not seeing anything else that's, as I say, she did nudity and other stuff. There's movies like The Hard Truth and stuff, but I don't know how erotic they are. I've got a feeling they're more action, like C tier action, than they are fully erotic. Um, I don't feel like either actor, either Nicolette Sheridan or Lysette Anthony, kind of owns sort of erotic thrillers. I think they kind of dance in and out of them. Whereas I fully respect Shauna O'Brien or a Shannon Worry or a Shannon Tweed or a Monique Perrin or whatever. Or Kira Reed. I fully respect these people who are just like, nah, this is what I'm doing. This is,
Yeah.
and you feel more that they do own it because when they show up on set, they're the star. Invariably in a Shannon Tweed movie, you can't name the male leads unless it's
Right.
some of the like action movies
Well,
like the
Andrew
Hulk Hogan
Stevens or
stuff and
somebody like
whatever.
that. Yeah.
Right. But in general, Shannon Tweed is the star. And if Shannon Tweed is the star, you get the feeling of, well, she cleared all of this. So
Yeah.
whatever she's doing in this movie, she's comfortable doing it because it's a Shannon Tweed vehicle, as opposed to being a Harry Hamlin vehicle with Lysette Anthony in it.
Yeah, no, I agree there, and I think too because of that, when they're centered on Shannon Tweed or Shannon Worry, it there's a sense, another one we could put in there would be like a Julie Strain. There's always that sense that they're the ones in control of the film, and I think that does add a different dynamic to them for sure. That you can kind of feel, even if it's an Andrew Stevens Night Eyes movie, if Shannon Tweed's in it, it's Shannon Tweed,
Right.
she's the
And then
yeah.
and look, I mean, I don't know. I've not interviewed a lot of these people, and I've certainly not read into a lot of these people. I'm just saying how it is perceived. Uh, y- y- you know, Sharon Stone has told stories about the set of Basic Instinct, and again, I've kind of, as much as I want to believe the woman, I kind of question those because if someone's got a fucking great camera pointed at your bits and you're not wearing any underwear, and he asks you to uncross your legs, okay, you can do one of two things. You can argue, or one of three things. You can argue and hope he goes back on it. You can walk off the set and not do the rest of the movie and be fired, or you can uncross your legs and you can say I didn't feel comfortable doing it, but I did it anyway, and I will feel for you and empathize with you. But don't say what she said. What Sharon Stone said was, I never knew that would be a shot in the movie.
Right.
What are you talking about? If you didn't know, why are you not wearing underwear? Why did you uncross your legs? It's not like movie cameras in the 90s weren't enormous fucking, you know, car-sized fucking things that they had to wheel around on pedestals.
Right.
If someone was filming your bits, they had a camera on your bits, like you
Right.
fucking knew about it.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to necessarily get bogged down, but it's one of those things where on one hand you go, well, if you were so uncomfortable making a movie like Basic Instinct, why'd you go on to make Sliver, let alone Basic Instinct 2 and all the other films that you did? I would much rather someone like Sharon Stone be like, considering how much nudity she has done, even before, way before Basic Instinct, in movies. She even did nudity in an Andrew McCarthy movie. So like, she wasn't again. I'm not. Listen, I'm not saying that it isn't difficult for women in Hollywood. I'm not saying that there isn't pressure, and I'm not saying that there wasn't a certain point where women were taken advantage of. All of those things were true and did happen, and it is deplorable. I'm just saying that I can only read into Sharon Stone's, actions that she's put out there and balance it against what she said. And, sort of question why she made some of the career choices she ended up making, as opposed to Shannon Tweed, where, as I say, I feel like she owns those movies. She's Shannon motherfucking Tweed. Like, I'm marrying the lead singer from Kiss. Like, get the fuck
Right.
out of my way. Like,
Right.
I'm Shannon Tweed,
Yeah.
motherfucker. And I feel like she produces some of her movies, right? And she is, and I think that as much as she might be a punchline to some people, she's someone who, outside of Gene Simmons, developed a profitable and lucrative career doing what she was comfortable doing. I've got to assume because she did it over and over and over again. And I'm assuming that not every woman in softcore horror, action, or erotic thrillers was pressured into it. I'm hoping not, anyway.
No, I mean, I think yeah, I think like whether it's Shannon Worry, or Shannon Tweed, or you can feel better watching them in in these movies. I think that is true. Like you could feel like there's probably, if there's any shadiness going on set, it might have been minimal compared. I mean, what's the Steven Seagal movies, and it's like you read through the trivia and you find out like, oh, this actress was called out to Romania when she was 18 to do this role and didn't know there was a nude scene in it because the producer, her agent didn't tell her, and then she's stuck in Romania, doesn't know how to get back to LA, and she's like, I got to just do this nude scene,
Right.
You expect that from a Seagal, or okay, that's a Seagal movie. That's you read those kinds of things. If you found that out from a Shannon Tweed movie, it would probably be a little bit like, I wouldn't have expected it. Like usually she's, like you said, she owns it. Or Shannon Worry, she owns this kind of thing. She's going to do it,
right?
And so you can feel a little bit better about watching it. That like it's going to be less problematic.
No, and look, it hasn't always been, and that there is horrible stories of exploitation in porn. Yeah. But post 90s, sort of the Jenna Jameson and onwards era, you actually see the women way more than the men become the dominant force, the big money earners, the people who go to Vegas to get the awards at the, sex film awards, whatever they're called, the porn awards or whatever. You get them going into business for themselves, hiring other women to do it. You get them owning websites and coming up with their own streaming channels on Pornhub or whatever. And so I like to think that the 90s was a time, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't know, but I like to think of the 90s a time where the worm sort of slightly started to turn away from it being the stereotypical sweaty browed, cigar chomping, just get the top off love kind of producer that you see in like movies like 8mm, like when he goes around the seedy underbelly of Los Angeles, like all the porn producers are just these greased up, mustachioed, sweaty, blubbery men who are just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I actually like to believe, and maybe I'm wrong again, I'm just going based on a few documentaries I've watched and some of the actresses that I've heard talk about it, but that actually women started to own their shit, you know what I mean? And women started to actually take charge of this stuff. I hope. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think women have gotten more agency in these things now. It's probably I'm sure it's not perfect, unfortunately, but I think it, like you said, and I think you're right that like I think you get actresses like Shannon Tweed. I mean, they were probably a little ahead of their time as well. Like I think if they come out today, they'd have their own OnlyFans. They'd be making their movie, all that kind of thing. Whereas there was a sense that they were sort of relegated to this B movie.
No, but there was at least a cable channel willing to show their stuff. You know what I mean? And a profitable and cable channel that almost every American that I've met in the last 18 years of living here has talked to me about at some point or another. Like I only have to say Skinamax and everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it is what it is. And you just hope this stuff was a little bit more above board. But also I think what I've also heard is that the massive judgment that especially the softcore actors got, and I know that there was some like Kira Reed and others who have done both soft and hard, but there were a lot that have only just done softcore and consider themselves actors above porn stars, who, because of their association with Skinamax films, have come up against nothing but industry scorn and a lot of judgment and a lot of negativity, not in the softcore industry, but in the so-called proper industry that kind of looks down on the softcore industry. But you're like, listen, Hollywood, you're not against fucking doing sleazy 90s get your tits out love movies, so stop trying to pretend like you're holier than thou. If Sharon Stone is an Oscar nominated actor, then Monique Perrin can be considered exactly the same thing, because there is a vast swathe of Sharon Stone's films in which her being drop dead gorgeous and or naked is the entire point of her being in that film. She either owns it or she doesn't. Like, I can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if she can be considered Oscar worthy, I would have liked to have seen Hollywood take more of a chance on some of these actors who, sure, they're in these like cheesy, cheap, sex films or whatever, but who knows, given a little time and encouragement, what they could have done. They could have been in Casino. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, like a Sharon Worry, I think, for example, like I think in sort of the mainstream cinematic world, she's probably just a good actress, but a good actor, right? Like she wouldn't be a star for a movie, but like you could put her, like if you did like a Lifetime movie, she could be the friend of the main, like Joanna
Right.
Kerns's friend or something. But in the softcore world, her acting was so good for that world that the fact that she was willing to take her clothes off and do those sex scenes, I think elevated those movies because now you had a solid actor doing those parts. Sharon Tweed's a little different because she kind of comes into it differently, right? She's does Playboy, I think, right, or Penthouse first, and then starts doing the acting. But she was good at it. She was good at acting. I think it's kind of a similar thing, right, where she's if you put her in mainstream movies, she's probably not like at the highest level of an actor. So it's probably get smaller parts. But for the erotic thriller, she's going to be the star. And she's for her ability to act, she can take those movies to a different level, which I think is a good thing too.
Oh my goodness! Talk about the opposite of a stage mother. I was just reading Lysette Anthony's trivia. This is one of the most disheartening and disturbing things ever. After she starred in the play Pinocchio in London's West End at the age of 10, her parents were so appalled by her precocious nature that they sent her to a convent school in Torquay in Devon. They were like, "We're going to send you away to the nuns. How dare you be Pinocchio?" No wonder that by the time she got into her 20s, she was like, "I'm taking my clothes off."
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It makes sense, right? That she, that she kind of went, it's a lesson for parents out there, right? That
Right.
sending your children to convents or monasteries. I guess, do they send boys to monasteries, or is just girls to convents?
I think it's just girls to come. Well, no, I mean boys go to convents as well, don't they? Like with
Oh,
the
maybe.
the nuns and stuff. I don't know whether they're called convents though for boys, but I don't
Yeah.
know, dude. I'm not Catholic. I have no idea.
No.
I was strictly Church of England, and that was bad enough.
Right, right. Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think Lysette Anthony, to be fair, is a little bit of a tragic figure.
Yeah.
I think there is a bit of it. What's odd is it also says she started acting in her parents' theater company from the age of 10.
Right, because her dad's an actor. Her dad,
Right.
Michael
So
Anthony.
why was
Yeah.
he so pearl clutching about her being good in Pinocchio? Like,
Right. Yeah.
if you're an actor, wouldn't you be like, this is
Yeah.
great that she's in Pinocchio? I don't
Right.
understand.
Right. Yeah. No, none of it makes sense. No.
No, but she tries to shake off her. It's funny, some of her movies she leans very much into the British, oh, I'm sexy but I'm buttoned up kind of
Right.
thing. And then other times, as you said, The Advocate and Save Me. The Advocate is more it's sort of a medieval times.
Yeah.
And it's Colin Firth. It's sort of a medieval legal drama
Right.
with Donald Pleasance just in the background.
Right. So, yeah, we should gotta have some Donald Pleasance in there.
I have it on the VHS though.
Oh, do you? Oh, nice.
The Advocate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have Save Me.
Yeah.
I have Deceptions, and I have, if you just want to see the front, Deceptions 2.
Right.
That's I don't know. There we go.
Yeah, with Mariel Hemingway. Yeah.
Yeah. It's blurring out. What's weird is it's blurring.
Yeah, because it's not your face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 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 So, yeah, I've learned this from work because I have the blurred background for work because
Right.
I work from home, and so it's like, yeah, if I want to show somebody something, I have to unblur.
Oh, okay. But you
Yeah.
get the general idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more about the ladies in Deceptions 2 than it is about Hamlin, because they cast some nondescript Canadian.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like the Sedaris movies where they get into like the Abilene who can't shoot straight, and finally it's just like a playgirl model, and they just said, no, let's just let Donna Spear be the lead, and we'll have
Yeah,
this
why not?
guy. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I don't know. I have a fondness for these movies while still thinking them pretty ridiculous. And they may be ridiculous because in the case of Deceptions, they didn't bother writing an ending. And in the case of Save Me, they didn't bother writing a middle.
Right.
Like Save Me has a beginning and an ending, and the beginning is weak and tenuous as it is.
Right.
He's walking past the lingerie department, and then suddenly he's knobbing her in the back room. I mean, it's tenuous at best.
Yes.
And then the ending, it's just like, yep, she was crazy all along.
Right.
But there's no middle. The middle is just fucking and shooting. That's the whole
Right.
middle. There's nothing's driving the plot.
Right.
And
The occasional
hot topic.
Railsback. Occasionally Railsback giving him a hard time about being on probation.
Well, I feel like the Railsback sort of work subplot is someone like looking at the script going, nah. It can't just be like they meet in the lingerie department, they have sex in 85 different places, and then it ends.
Right.
We have to have some other plot going on, and someone being like, well, I don't know, maybe Steve Railsback wants to fire him or something.
All right. So yeah, so I think with these two movies, they're both on Tubi. I think they're fun, right? They I don't know. Like you said, they know what they are. They're movies that know what they are, and these erotic thrillers. If you kind of go in knowing what you're getting from them,
it's a bygone era. It doesn't.
Yeah.
They don't look like any other film will ever look before or since.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of fun to go to that time capsule, especially now that Tubi has these available. One place that Mitch found these is the Internet Archive has some. So I found some old ones that I hadn't seen, for a long time on there. So that's where he found Animal Instincts. That was on there. But yeah, so some of those ones, if you don't have them on VHS, that's a place where you can find them. There's one that I was going to mention quickly, and let me just quickly pull it up on my my letter. I have it on Letterboxd here. It's called Victim of Desire.
Oh,
yeah, Jim Wynorski directed it. It's got Wings Hauser in it, Julie Strain, Shannon Tweed. So it definitely, it looks like it could be. Mark Singer's also in it. I forgot Mark Singer was in it as well. But yeah, so I found that one on the Internet Movie Archive. And so I'm definitely interested to check that one out.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because like one movie double bill that fascinates me is the Bedroom Eyes double bill, because the first Bedroom Eyes has nobody you've ever heard of in it, and then the second Bedroom Eye, and you'd be like, and also you can't even imagine that it was even like that popular. It basically has a front cover that looks like it's ripping off Body Double or whatever.
Right.
Bedroom Eyes 2 has Wings Hauser, Kathy Sharon, Linda Blair in it.
Right. Yes.
Like suddenly everyone wants to get in on the Bedroom Eyes stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing.
Very odd, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So yes, you can find these. I mean, YouTube generally doesn't have them because of the nudity piece. So it's either YouTube, or sorry, Tubi that might have them, or they're available to rent on Amazon. But yeah, some of the more obscure ones, Internet Movie Archive, you might be able to find them on there.
Good tip there, Matthew. Good tip.
Yeah.
If you want to watch softcore porn adjacent films with people like Wings Hauser, Linda Blair, and Harry Hamlin in them,
yes.
Internet Movie Archive is where you want to go.
Exactly. Well, excuse me. As we're wrapping up, John, anything you wanted to plug?
No. I mean, you can. No, really, if you're interested in my various filmic and movie escapades, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook as After Movie Diner. In fact, wherever the words After Movie and Diner are put together on the internet, that is me, more or less. If you are interested in my movie shop, maybe you live near Connecticut, maybe you're going to be traveling through Connecticut and you want to stop off or whatever like that, you can follow me over at Be Kind Movie Vault on both Instagram and Facebook.
right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you, John. This was a fun conversation. These movies are always fun to talk about, but I think that the Hamlin factor and some of the other actors involved and all of that, so it's always a good time.
Yeah, and I think it always does well to go back to a genre that, and again, I think this comes down to ownership. Like, there is no way that at 14 or 15 years old, I would have told anybody, even my closest friends, that I had any idea that these movies existed.
Right.
As an adult, it feels wonderful to be like, I know who these people are. I watch softcore porn. Like, I don't care. Like, it's a thing that exists, and I'm aware of it and have watched it. So, you can either judge me for it or get the fuck off my lawn. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
And I think that feels very nice to just sort of be able to be like, yeah, we're two grown men who do a podcast who sat down and watched basically two titty flicks, and that's, but with Harry Hamlin in them, so
Right,
it's not, and Robert Davi and
yes.
Michael Ironside. Both movies have great character actors who would go on to become legends in their own right. Davi and Ironside.
And they're all born at the same time. I never realized that Hamlin's 51, Davi was born in 51, and then Ironside was 1950. So I never realized.
Because Ironside and Davi looked like 25 years older than Hamlin.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, no, it's always fun to talk about these movies. Definitely, for sure. Always enjoy these ones.
So maybe we'll do Bedroom Eyes down the road. Maybe we'll do a double bill on my show, and we can use Bedroom Eyes 2 as the movie featuring the actor that I really like that I haven't seen yet, Wings Hauser and Linda Blair.
Yeah.
And then Bedroom Eyes as sort of the VHS thing that I picked up. But, maybe we'll get back into this realm at some point, Matt. But otherwise, yes, it's been fun finally breaking these two out into the open and publicly exposing Save Me and Deceptions. Not to mention, Matt, Deceptions 2, The Edge of Deceptions, which really should have been called, More Deception or Deception Harder, or do you know what I mean? Like, it should have been called something that was, I mean, just Deceptions 2 is fine.
Right.
There's the
Deception. Yeah.
Deception. Yeah. Why did it have to be The Edge of Deception? Like, it could have just been Deceptions 2, More Deception or Extra Deception.
In the movie, The Foreigner, the Seagal movie that we watched recently, there's a character in the movie who says, "Deception begets deception." So that would have been like force on, excessive force 2, force on force.
Right. That should have been the third one. Deceptions 3. Deception begets deception.
Right. So you have 3 deceptions in one title. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. By the time you get to the third one, it's all about deception trilogy.
Exactly.
I would watch a Deception if they want to make a Deception 3 with a detective Gentry in it, which is again the only thing that ties the two is the name, really. Yes, there's thematic things, but and again, if you've ever been interested to watch a very, very horny Mariel Hemingway, track down Deceptions 2.
The Edge of Deception. Exactly. Well, thank you, John. Thank you for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening. We'll be back soon. Bye, everyone.